Welcome back to Nigeria 2015. Let's take a look at the headlines now with Anne Wahodo.
Hello, Chamberlain. A quick look at the headlines. The Senate today confirmed Musiliu Obanikoro as minister, brushing aside allegations that Mr. Obanikoro allegedly played a key role in the purported election rigging in Ekiti State. There had been repeated deferments with opposition parties and the All Progressives Congress APC staging a walkout. Now, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Tahiru Jega, has met with resident electoral commissioners. The INEC boss was speaking to his comrades behind closed doors in Abuja. He pointed out that while Nigerians yearn for credible election, they also have a role to play, and the commission is prepared to do its best. The Nigerian government says there is no evidence suggesting that the militant group Islamic State is operating in Nigeria. The coordinator of the National Information Center, Mr. Mike Omeri, told journalists today that the attempt by Boko Haram insurgents to seek assistance from IS is confirmation of the kind of pressure the group is receiving from multinational forces. And finally, the Russian Human Rights Council says it has proved one of the suspects in the murder of Russia's main opposition politician, Boris Nemtsov, was forced to make a confession to participating in the murder. They said the wounds of Zor Dadayev's body show he was tortured into making a confession. Oh, those are the headlines. It's still Nigeria 2015. Back to you, Chamberlain.
Well, thank you, Anne, and let's get back to this. Well, speaking about the card readers and then the permanent voter cards, well, INEC here did also say, I reeled out the 4 objectives for the card reader demonstration, which was deployed over the weekend. And all of this, in fact, look at the first one, to verify the PVCs presented at polling units and ensure that they are genuine. To a large extent, INEC says they've been able to achieve that one before we even move on to all the other ones. So if they say they're satisfied and then cite this alongside several others, why would anyone say they are not? Because after all, they're the ones who are preparing for these elections.
I listened to Mr. Uzi speaking, and I don't believe he lives in this country.
Why?
Yeah, INEC thinks it's working for itself. These objectives are INEC's objectives. They don't affect the people. They don't affect whether people should be able to manage these cards if they get them, how people get these cards, how people will conduct themselves at the elections. These are INEC's own objectives. And in these objectives, what did we see? You try to find out if the card reader on that day will be able to get out the details you have in the cards. While you're doing that, you've also admitted that there will be incidents, and when there are incidents, people can fill forms and say there was an incident. So what's the purpose of the card reader then? Suppose as an electoral officer, you get to the filling, booth and the polling booth, and now you start filling all those cards. What does the card reader do? Because the card reader is supposed to perform a very important function of relaying the list and the numbers of accredited voters back to a central server. So when there are incidents and those cards can't be read, what happens? Do you understand that? That's why I'm saying that, INEC comes with some way of talking. INEC thinks this is a battle about whether card readers should be used or not. I think it's gone beyond that. This is a battle about retrieving our country from politicians, from INEC itself, but we don't then do all that and hand it over to a card reader. Because what could happen on that day, these are controlled experiments. No pressure, no tension.
Even though we'll get to Mr. Uzi to respond to this one, but part of the information out there, which they, INEC, also put out, is that the essence of the incidence form is if you get to your center with your card, and the card reader is not able to read your card, you won't be sent home. You will fill the incidence form. You will get accredited.
And vote.
And then you can vote.
Okay. That information, does it go to the central server? Because it's card reader that reports to the central server. Do you understand that? INEC is learning. What bothers me is that INEC is learning as it's going along. INEC has not used this in an election. If I turn up and I'm a candidate at my polling booth and the card reader turns me down, what do you think my supporters will do? INEC doesn't even seem to understand the implications of what we're talking about. Card readers should be used, but INEC must ensure that it works. INEC must also help people to know what they have to do and how to use these cards. And he's talking of being ready. You are distributing cards by now, and you're telling me we are 100% ready.
Let's get the election.
You know, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if he lives in this country. These elections are more important than INEC, politicians, or card readers. It's about Nigerians trying to retrieve their country. And we're not going to hand that country over to a card reader.
Let's get Mr. Osaze Uzi back on some perspective he's got here. Tell us then, if you get to the polling unit and the card reader cannot read your card and you fill the incidence form, how do you get your information to the central database as well as the ones read by the card reader?
Thank you very much. I wish, first of all, let me reassure Ikiri that I've lived in this country continuously for more than 30-something years. I've not lived outside of this for more than 2 weeks at a time. So, but the point is this. He has asked and raised certain issues which one must address. Unfortunately, he hasn't waited to hear the response that INEC has. INEC does have a response. First of all, let us situate this thing rightly. There is a law. We are bound by the law. If a person turns up in the polling unit and he has a genuine card, but for whatever reasons he's not authenticated by the card reader, you're quite right. We cannot turn that person back. He still has a right to go to vote. Doing otherwise would be tantamount to disenfranchising that person. And we cannot do that in law, and we don't intend to do that. That is why there's an incident form. It is not for the voter to fill the incident form, it's for the INEC official to fill the incident form. And the essence is this. And yes, the answer to his question whether the card reader does it, yes, it reads not only the accredited people, but those who could not be accredited. So at the end of the day, to tell you, 20 people were accredited, 3 were not accredited. It sends that information to the central server. So both the accredited and the unaccredited, the information is gathered and sent to the central server. And the whole essence is that when at the end of the day, the incident form tells us that, look, 18 people came, 2 could not pass the accreditation, but their cards were read to be genuine. We have compared their photographs in the permanent voters card with what is on the register, and we are satisfied that these people are genuinely entered into the register of voters. The law says those people must be allowed to vote. But at the end of the day, there's a discrepancy. We don't look for the total number accredited by the card reader, and we look for those. The card reader is in addition to the requirements that you still have to go back to register and tick the register when somebody has come for accreditation. So you must balance the two. Where there's a serious discrepancy between the two figures, then it raises a red flag. And that is the whole essence. This is building up on transparency. It's building up on providing better elections for better service to people. And yes, it is for Nigerians. The criteria we set were not set by INEC. In the sense that people came and said, well, we're registering. People said, but people are cloning those cards. So the first criteria is this an INEC card? Now becomes a very valid question and the most important question. That people should not go to the polling unit with fake balloting cards, with fake permanent voters cards. Because that issue was a serious issue. The SSS, for example, paraded telling people that they said were suspected of hacking the database and were found with permanent voters cards, which some people believe were not genuine. The card reader will only read genuine INEC cards. So that's the first threshold that a person must pass.
All right, Osaze, just give us a moment. I know you want to respond, but just hold on a minute. We need to get to our correspondents. Remember, we have a lineup of some of them, and Dombra, we spoke to her earlier on, actually, and she files in her report. Here it is.
We are 16 days away from the general elections, and Bayelsa State is yet to receive over 40,000 PVCs meant for registered voters in the state. These PVCs have not been sent to the state, so had INEC not extended the deadline for the collection of PVCs nationwide, these 40,000 registered persons would have been disenfranchised. Hopefully, they will be able to collect their PVCs, as the resident electoral commissioner is optimistic that these cards will soon be delivered. Aside the yet-to-be-delivered PVCs, INEC has announced a 95% distribution of available PVCs in Bayelsa State and attributes their success to efforts made by the state government at ensuring that residents partake in the ongoing PVC collection exercise. The Bayelsa State government had earlier declared a work-free day and has recently begun the Operation Show Me Your PVC campaign in Yanagwa. The Deputy Governor of the state, Rear Admiral John Jonah, kicked off the campaign by visiting most ministries and requesting that political appointees and civil servants show him their PVCs. With more days now available for collection, INEC has assured Bayelsans that the Commission will do all in its power to ensure that no one is disenfranchised. Delbert Tiniwood, reporting for Channels Television News.
Well, thank you, Don. Let's get back to this now. Well,